This is the third film I've shown with the Woodstock Film Festival, going back to 2010. Here we premiered this brand new 3D movie, Antarctica on the Edge, which is fun and fantastic and sold out. When the opportunity came up to make a 3D movie, I jumped because I'd already figured out the logistics of how to sail there, how to shoot there, etc. And the opportunity to make this 3D movie, which is headed for museums and science institutions, and what I think will be a really sizable audience around the world, was too good to pass up. So even though it took us about 5 years to organize the money, the shooting, the editing, etc., but it's out there now. We've screened it for 500 museum directors, and it'll start being booked in museums next year. But when you're sitting on those quiet bays, you know, this is the most pristine place on the planet, the most remote place on the planet. You're sitting in those pristine bays, you know, maybe just on a sailboat or on a kayak. I mean, it is powerful because you realize how far you are. It's one of those places, one of those few places in the world where you literally, you know, you hear your heart. Like if you told me I could never go back, I'd be very sad.
How did you get the aerial shots?
A very good question. Very good question. So we learned a trick in 2007, 2008 when I did a previous trip on the same sailboat. But we just winched the camera operator to the top of the 100-foot mast. And we get these kind of inexpensive aerials, and they look like they could have been done for planes.
Well, it was so still.
Yeah.
The camera was so still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of that's just the improvement in technology, but also it's amazing what you can do in post-production. So, I don't know if maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but somebody out in the hall asked me, he said, "How did you get those crane moves over those growing plants?" You know, you'll see, but you know that's animation. Those plants were drawn. Those rocks were drawn. We debated. I wanted to go back. We filmed that in January 2012, but because the weather was so bad, I said we have to go back. And we weighed the expense of going back versus the cost of filling in some of the gaps with animation, and it kind of was about the same. So, because our concern is when we go back, what if we go back and we have really crummy weather again? Then now you spend another X, and you still don't have what you want. So by not going back, we're able to guarantee. I've made a dozen documentaries. They all have environmental backdrops. I mean, I think it's important for storytellers today, whether in print or on the internet or in film, that if you're so inclined, you have to tell an environmental story. It's really an important part of filmmaking these days. And you know, the question always comes up is are these changes that we're seeing, are they you know, just evolution? The planet changes. It used to be green and covered with dinosaurs, and or is it man-made? Warmer temperatures man-made, and it's a little bit of both. But you know, we're operating this massive science experiment on this planet with 7+ billion people, and to 9 billion people. We just don't know how we are impacting it, but we're definitely impacting it, without question. And I can tell you, every year we go back, there's less ice and less ice and less ice and less ice. So something's happening there, and it's happening far faster than anyone was predicted, and far faster than it's happened previously. So man is having an effect. I would feel guilty if I went to Antarctica, for example, and didn't talk about the fact that the climate change is impacting the ice along the coastline. I would feel implicit in its demise.
Well, but how does feet of ocean rise translate in terms of what happens on land? Like if the ocean rises 10 feet.
Rises 10 feet, we're
underwater.
Big trouble. Big trouble. In a weird way, it's all connected. I think that's what's important about. Look, Antarctica seems remote, far away, not part of our daily lives. But when you think about it in those terms, you know that our coastlines are being impacted by what's happening both in the north and the south. You know, the kinds of films that I make are not always intended for mass audiences. They're aimed for very kind of targeted audiences. To that end, I need an independent film festival rather than one that's kind of more hews to an expected doctrine, because I need independent thinkers.